Yeah, this works. Adjust my hat a little bit. Howdy, folks. It is D-Man the Greaser, and I'm back with another video, and this is my thoughts on the whole Super Bowl halftime show. And let's get into the video. I'm just cutting up my cigar right now, smoking a beautiful El Rey del Mundo Limitada. Never smoked a cigar, so I'm in for a treat. So I can't go wrong with a good El Rey del Mundo. I like El Rey del Mundo stuff. I can't go wrong with them, and this lighter needs more fluid. That's why I always bring a backup of lighters. So yeah, I'll get into the video once I cut the cigar. There we go. Alrighty, let's get into the video, shall we? Now, this is my thoughts on the Super Bowl halftime show. Now, I've been seeing everywhere on my Instagram feed. Now, I'm happy with the results of the Super Bowl. I mean, my team was playing. Go Seahawks! So that was like, so I more cared about the game itself than the actual like halftime show. And yeah, see, and that's the thing. I've been seeing everywhere on my Instagram feed, Facebook, a little bit on my Snapchat, maybe on my TikTok a little bit. I've been seeing a lot more like comments about last night's halftime show. The difference between the Bad Bunny halftime show and the Turning Point halftime show, the alternate halftime show with Kid Rock. And my thoughts are, I think both halftime shows were terrible. I think both kind of sucked. I think both were boring. I really didn't find any entertainment out of each and every one of them. And now, before I'm going to get into the Bad Bunny one, and I'm probably not going to be well liked on this, so too, maybe on this video too, and that's okay. This is I'm just giving out my direct opinions. You don't have to agree with them. I'm perfectly happy. I think people who follow me for a while now, I think a lot of people know I'm very opinionated, and you may agree with me, you may disagree with me. I'm okay to agree to disagree, so you don't have to come after me and just say, oh, you're wrong, you're racist, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm just completely unbiased with both of them, all right? Not a bad cigar, actually. I had a Billy Chubby Chicks just before I cut and lit this one, and that's a good cigar, very good economy brand. I like the darkness of it. But this one is actually a pretty good cigar. I think the only challenge was, I think, like the foot band of this. It's like it's a big old wrapper that covers up the entire foot of it when you take the cellophane off. So taking that off is kind of a pain, but other than that, it's a good cigar so far. So yeah, this might be a cigar video after all. No, but so when it comes to the Super Bowl halftime show, I watched both. I watched a little bit both back and forth a little bit last night, and honestly, I didn't find them very entertaining. I thought they were kind of boring. I mean, with Bad Bunny, there's no surprise. He's going to get all political. The old, it's going to get in that Bad Bunny old fashion. He's going to get political. Talk. I mean, like very much disagree with ICE, Trump, whatever. And I know there's people in my feed, people who follow me through Instagram or whatever. They have those same. They have that kind of same political ideology, and that's fine. You can still have your own political opinions. That's fine by me. I'm not going to judge. Tell you the truth. I may disagree, but what your opinions are. You're entitled to. Y'all are very much entitled to your opinions, and that's perfectly fine by me. We're all American for the most part, and I think it's great to have separate opinions than anybody else. But with Bad Bunny, I just couldn't really understand the word he said, because I'm not very fluent in Spanish. I definitely say that music production wise was good. Honestly, maybe like the maybe the stage presence was okay. I didn't think I didn't have a problem with that, but I think just like a lot of his messaging, the stuff that he does on stage, I'm just not a big fan of his music. That's all I have to say. I'm not a big fan of uh, Bad Bunny at all. I don't listen to his music. I don't really care for his music because I've listened to some things of his, and I'm just like, just not for me. That's just my personal music taste, and I think everybody knows my personal music taste is here too. So, so that's kind of a little bit on the obvious side, and I just thought it was kind of boring. I just didn't find it very entertaining. I think there's a lot of better artists out there that could have been like a lot better than Bad Bunny on Super Bowl halftime show. For instance, Ella Langley. I think Ella Langley would be a perfect candidate for a halftime show. I mean, shit, she just became like number one in the Billboard charts with choosing Texas. So having her on there would have been great. I mean, yeah, and also saying it because she's hot, but and my girlfriend knows this. She's my celebrity crush. So love you, baby. But yeah, she'll probably tease me in the comments about me like being all gushy over Ella Langley. So she knows that. But but yeah, I think Ella Langley, besides her being a celebrity crush of mine, but I think she would have been a better option for Super Bowl halftime. I'm not a big fan of Sabrina Carpenter, but I don't really listen to her, but she probably could have been another good option as well. Even though I don't listen to Sabrina Carpenter, I don't really care for her. I'm not a fan of hers, but with like people of my age group, and I get it. You know, I get it. I think having her would have been okay. Definitely have a lot of metal bands would have been good, like having Metallica play for a little bit. Maybe Slayer or Slipknot would have been good. Maybe they could have done like another good option. They could have like some good old like classic 2000s rock bands play. That would have been a good option. But again, those are just my opinions. I think I can always talk about those in some other time. Or I got my own opinions with that. Like who would have been perfect candidates to play at the Super Bowl halftime show. But that's kind of besides the point of this video. And then, like I said, not a big fan of Bad Bunny. I'm not a big fan of his. I don't really care for his music. I don't agree with him politically, in all honesty. And I get it. A lot of like the Mexican crowd, they like him. Like a lot of the Latino, Hispanic crowd, they like him. I get it, but it's just not my personal music taste. I don't really care for his political opinions. They can disagree with me on that. And I'm fine with that as well. So yeah, now I'm gonna jump onto the turning point with Kid Rock halftime show, the alternative show. I think in the beginning of it, when they did a Star Spangled Banner on the guitar, that was cool. I did like that. Maybe like the first part of his performance was okay. Of course, he can't understand a word he says, whatever. But I think his stage presence is what matters. But honestly, I was kind of more disappointed. Tell you the truth, I was kind of expecting him to do like I'm not a big Kid Rock fan either. I don't really listen to him, but the only song I really think of his, like I think the only good song, or the only song I really ever listened to is All Summer Long. But that's about it. That's the only kind of song I can really think of when it comes to Kid Rock. You know, but I get it. He's conservative. He's a big Trump supporter guy. So you kind of have that there. And and honestly, with the whole Kid Rock thing, with all these other country artists, I just thought it was boring. I thought it was a boring halftime show. I thought it was, I was, it's a halftime show. I'm expecting something like very, or if you're gonna do like an alternate, alternative like halftime show, I'm kind of expecting more of like something upbeat, very rock and roll, hard rock, stuff like that. Something that's like, man, this is a football vibe, you know. And look, I'm Christian, I like Christian gospel music, but that kind of music is it's just not the time for it, you know. I mean, not that I'm against Christian music. I love gospel. I mean, that's kind of like one of my main go-to musics nowadays is actually gospel music. Where for halftime, it just doesn't fit right for if you're doing something like a football event, especially if it's the Super Bowl. I just don't think it's really appropriate enough. In all honesty, and you know, like I said, it was just a very boring halftime show. I just didn't find it very entertaining either shows. And you know, yeah, and you know, and a lot of people know about my some of my opinions about Turning Point. Well, I don't think I ever. No, I didn't release that video yet. I will release that video real soon. You may not like it, but you know that it's going to be some of my very opinionated. It's probably going to be one of my most opinionated video out there. So I may release that real soon. But to me, with like you know how Turning Point is going right now, and I did mention this on the video that I did film, and I'm definitely will release it real soon. That I think they really are profiting off of Charlie Kirk's death, and you know that's definitely what Erica Kirk is doing. You know, I can see it. You know, I'm. You know, some people say, yeah, you know, she was a gold digger. She's not. She comes from a lot of money. There's a lot of influence on that. That my that I will release that video real soon as well. You know, and I kind of did cover on it though too. But really, Turning Point is just becoming a big ultra mega cult right now. I mean, already it always has been a MAGA kind of company, even when Charlie Kirk ran it when he was alive. But at the same time, you know, Charlie Kirk was questioning things, was questioning a lot of things even before he died. But again, that's gonna be in another video that will be released real soon. But yeah, it's just yeah, it was just weird. It was just very odd, you know. Yeah, I just thought again, I just think both halftime shows were absolutely kind of disappointing. I really didn't find any entertainment out of both of them. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Man, this is a good cigar. I know I'm getting into comments, man. You're more focusing, man, D man. You're really focusing more on your cigar than you are in this video. You're more rambling about whatever, but it seems like you're more into your cigar than the actual video itself. And you're right, and you guys are absolutely right. But yeah, so what is your opinions about it? You know, because again, I've been seeing everyone Instagram like different things. You know, definitely a lot of posts about saying, oh, you know, Bad Bunny was great. You know, whoever didn't like Bad Bunny is a racist. You know, who watched the second halftime show is a racist. Blah 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 blah. Cult MAGA. Blah 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 blah. So I mean, which I really don't consider myself MAGA anymore. I don't really support Trump anymore, or really consider myself as a conservative, not a liberal. I'm not a Democrat, not a liberal, and not going that far. But I'm not. I've really become more disillusioned. And oh my goodness, damn flies. Yeah, we've been having really nice weather lately here in Arizona, so some of the flies are out. But oh well, what can you do? But yeah, I don't really consider myself MAGA or Trump or conservative or like MAGA conservative party, whatever. I've been kind of leaning more towards becoming more independent lately. But yeah, that's just me. But again, what's your guys' thoughts on the halftime show? I thought it was kind of boring, very disappointing on both sides. I really didn't find any entertainment. You know, I think I was more focused on eating my snacks and really more focusing on the game itself than the actual halftime. You know, that's the thing. You know, it feels like to me like I've been seeing a lot more on the Instagram posts or Snapchat or whatever, all the social media. You know, no one's talking about the game; they're just talking about the whole fucking halftime show. But I'm like, I don't care about the halftime show. I only watch it purely more to see my team win, and that is the Seahawks. And yeah, my you guys don't know that the Seahawks is my favorite football team. So I'm happy with how they won. although I kind of thought the game was kind of boring itself. I think there were some things that they should have, maybe the ball should have been thrown like every 5 yards. I think there should have been more touchdowns. Yeah, instead of like the actual game score we got last night. I think there should have been less field goals. I think there was more field goals on Seahawks end than there was actually touchdowns. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Patriots actually did have like maybe 2 touchdowns, but that's about it. That's about it. But other than that, yeah, I think there should have, like I said, I think there should have been more. There should have been. I wanted to see more touchdowns instead of field goals from the Seahawks. But instead but they didn't win by a bunch of field goals. That's all that matters. They won. They won anyway. They won the Super Bowl, so I'm happy with that too. But I wish there was at least some good touchdowns for them. So, well, yeah, that's my only complaints about the Super Bowl. People talk. That's my only thing I was looking forward to about the Super Bowl was more touchdowns. But I was more happy with about how the Super Bowl ended because it's my team and they won the Super Bowl. And this is their second Super Bowl win as well. So I'm very much happy with that. I don't give 2 shits about either halftime shows. So you can guys hate on me for that, and I'm okay with that. I'm down with the roast on there or the hate comments. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Like I laugh like how there's just no one's like ever commenting about the game itself. They're just more commenting on the halftime show. Like, again, I don't care about the halftime show all that much. I care about more about the game, but these are just things I've been kind of observing and kind of sharing my thoughts on it. So, well, I hope you guys like this video of me rambling about the Super Bowl, which I don't think I ever done, and I never do. No, I don't think I ever like ramble about the Super Bowl. So yeah. Yeah, I think this will be the end of this video, and I hope you like this video. I want you to have a good one, have a good cigar, and I'll see you on the next one. Dig it. Happy trails, pals. Oh, what do you think about my mustache, guys? I'm looking more like an outlaw or a cowboy now, huh?